Good afternoon, and welcome to Math with Mr. D. Today we'll be talking about Lesson 10.8, subtracting mixed numbers with like and unlike denominators. Let's take a look at our first example. Up on the board here, you can see I had the fractions 4 and 2/3 minus 3 and 1/3. The first thing I'm going to do before I begin any kind of subtraction is I'm going to take a look at my denominators. I notice that my denominators are 3 and 3. They're like, so now I have the green light to go ahead and subtract this problem. I'm going to look at my whole numbers, in this case 4 and 3, and I know that 4 minus 3 is, yep, you guessed it, 1. So I'll write down that 1 over there. Like I said before, we had the green light to subtract because our denominators are the same. I now take a look at my numerators. 2 and 1. 2 minus 1, yep, is 1. And my denominator, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to slide it right on down. So my denominator is 3. But before I go ahead and circle my final answer, I want to take a look at my fraction part, 1/3, and I want to see if I can simplify that. We always want to make sure our fraction is in simplest forms at all times. Well, I know that my numerator is 1, and since my numerator is 1, I don't have to simplify at all. My answer is already in simplest form. There's a little trick for you right there. So I know my answer is 1 and 1/3. I'll go ahead and circle it, and now I can go on to my next problem, just like that. My next problem is 11 and 11/12 minus 2 and 1/6. Right off the bat, I know that my denominators are not the same. So I'm going to have to find the least common multiple, which will help me find the least common denominator. I already know that 12 is both a multiple of 12 and 6, so my least common multiple, my least common denominator, is 12. So we go ahead to the next slide, and I have that already set up for us. Notice that my whole numbers do not change. My whole numbers throughout this whole problem, throughout this whole process, they're going to remain the same. That's extremely important to know. So now the only thing missing is I have to find my new numerators. 12 times what will give me 12? Remember, I always want to say that to myself because that will help me find my numerators. Well, 12 times 1 will give me 12, which means if I multiply 1 here, I have to go to my numerator and multiply 1. And 11 times 1, yep, gives me 11. And then down here, 6 times what will give me 12? And if you said 2, you're right on. And this means my numerator is 2. Times 2 down for our denominator, times 2 for our numerator. So now my fractions have like denominators, 12, and now I have the green light to go ahead and subtract. Sorry about that, got a little carried away. 11 minus 2, well, that does give me 9. And now I can subtract. 11 minus 2 also gives me 9. And then I go ahead and I keep my denominator the same. Now I could go to this slide, and I have 9 and 9/12. But remember, I'm not done yet. I have to find the greatest common factor. I have to see if 9/12 can be simplified. If my greatest common factor is 1, well then I know I'm done. But I have a feeling our greatest common factor is not 1. So why don't we list the factors for 9 and list the factors of 12? Kind of a little bit of a refresher. For 9, I have 1, 9, and 3. For 12, I have 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, and 4. So now I'm going to compare my factors for 9 and my factors for 12 and see if I could find the greatest one. And I have found the greatest one, and it is 3. So now, just as a little refresher, I go to the next slide. and I'm going to divide my numerator and my denominator by 3. 9 divided by 3, well, is 3. And 12 divided by 3 is, you guessed it, 4. Remember, my whole number at this time, 9, it just stays there. We don't do anything to it. When we get to our final answer, when we write that down, we include our whole number, and our final answer is 9 3/4. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new today. Have a nice weekend, everyone.